Imagine if you had a remote control for your life, one that could pause failures, rewind regrets, and fast-forward your success. What if I told you this book is that remote? That no matter where you're starting from, broke, broken, or just bored, there's a proven map to go from ordinary to extraordinary. A map created by a man who turned rejection, self-doubt, and rock-bottom moments into a life of wealth, purpose, and peace. If you're tired of watching others win while you stay stuck, this is your wake-up call. Because the Success Principles doesn't just tell you what successful people do. It teaches you how to become one, step by step. No fluff, no shortcuts. Just truth, action, and results. Jack Canfield isn't just another motivational speaker. He's the guy who co-created the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, which has sold over 500 million copies worldwide. But before that, he was broke. He was teaching high school, struggling to pay rent, and nobody knew his name. He's failed more times than most people have tried. But Jack figured something out. Success isn't luck, talent, or timing. It's principles. Simple, powerful actions that, when followed consistently, change lives. The Success Principles is the collection of those life-changing lessons, drawn from decades of interviews with top achievers, personal experiments, and coaching countless people into greatness. This book is not just motivational. It's a blueprint. The very first principle Jack teaches is bold, uncomfortable, and life-changing. Take 100% responsibility for your life. Not 50%, not 99%, but the full 100%. Sounds heavy, right? But here's the truth. As long as you keep blaming your past, your parents, your boss, or the economy, you'll stay stuck. Jack says, if you want real success, you have to stop pointing fingers and start taking charge. Imagine your life is like a car. If you're not in the driver's seat, you're not going anywhere you want to go. Maybe life threw you pain, failure, or unfairness. But what you do with that is on you. Jack shares his own story, how he was abandoned by his father, raised in poverty, and told he'd never amount to anything. But he made a decision. He wouldn't let his past write his future. He stopped making excuses and started making choices. That's what this principle is all about. Shifting from victim to creator. You start by looking at your results, your health, your income, your relationships, and saying, this is on me. Not to feel guilty, but to feel empowered. Because if you created this life, you can also recreate it. Jack even gives a formula, E plus R equals O. It means event plus response equals outcome. You can't control the event. Someone might lie to you, betray you, fire you. But you always control your response, your reaction, your attitude, your next move. And that, in the end, decides your outcome. Most people waste energy trying to change the event. But the real power is in changing your response. Jack urges readers to stop complaining, stop blaming, and start acting like the CEO of their own life. Even when life isn't fair, even when things go wrong, you still have a choice. To rise, to learn, and to grow. That's where success begins. Not outside, but inside you. And once you truly accept that responsibility, magic starts to happen. You start seeing options where you once saw obstacles. You start making progress where you once made excuses. Taking 100% responsibility doesn't guarantee overnight success, but it guarantees that you are finally in control. And that changes everything. Jack Canfield says, before anything becomes real in your life, it first becomes real in your mind. If you don't believe you can be successful, wealthy, happy, or healthy, you won't even try. That's the second principle. Believe it's possible. You see, most people are trapped in an invisible prison, not of steel or stone, but of limiting beliefs. I'm not smart enough. I'm not lucky. I'm too old. I've failed too many times. These thoughts, they're like chains. And worst of all, they feel true. Jack explains how these beliefs are formed. When we're kids, someone says something, maybe a teacher, a parent, a friend, and we accept it without questioning. Over time, it becomes our reality. But here's the powerful truth. Beliefs are not facts. They're just repeated thoughts. And thoughts can be changed. Jack tells the story of how he once believed he wasn't good at selling or speaking. But the more he read, practiced, and pushed through fear, the more confident he became. Today, he's one of the most successful authors and speakers in the world. Why? Because he rewrote the story inside his mind. That's what this principle asks you to do. Take a deep look at the story you've been telling yourself. If that story is full of fear, failure, or self-doubt, it's time to rewrite it. Start saying, "It's possible for me." Not because you have all the answers, but because belief is the seed of success. Think of belief like fuel. If your tank is empty, you won't move, even if the road is clear. But once you start feeding your mind with possibility, through books, affirmations, and visualizations, something shifts. You begin to take action. You start noticing opportunities that were always there. You walk with a different energy. Jack encourages us to create a powerful vision of our ideal life. Not based on where we are now, but where we want to be. He even talks about athletes and Olympians who use visualization techniques to rehearse their victories mentally before they ever happen. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and vividly imagined success. So when you imagine winning, your mind starts making it real. But belief isn't magic. It's a mindset that leads to movement. Once you believe it's possible, you'll take bold steps. You'll ask for that raise. You'll start that business. You'll leave the toxic relationship. Not because it's easy, but because you now believe you deserve better. Jack also warns, belief must be protected. Doubt will come. People will laugh. The world may not clap for your dreams, but if you clap for yourself long enough, others will join in. So the next time your inner critic whispers, "You can't," respond with, "Watch me." That shift, from doubt to belief, is where transformation begins. One of the biggest reasons people don't succeed is simple. They don't even know what they truly want. They wake up, go to work, scroll their phones, watch TV, and repeat. Life just happens to them. But Jack Canfield flips the script. He says if you don't decide what you want, someone else will decide for you. That's why the third principle is all about clarity. Get clear on what you want. Not what your parents want. Not what society expects. But what you, deep in your heart, truly desire. Jack says clarity is power. Without it, you're like a ship in the ocean with no compass, drifting, hoping, but never arriving. With it, you become unstoppable. Jack gives a powerful exercise. Take out a notebook and write down your ideal life in vivid detail. Not just, "I want to be rich," or "I want to be happy." That's too vague. Write exactly how much money you want to earn per year. Describe the house you live in, the kind of car you drive, the work you do, how you feel when you wake up. Do this for every area: career, health, relationships, spirituality, fun, and even your legacy. Because when you're specific, the universe, and your subconscious mind, starts to align with that vision. You begin to notice opportunities, people, and ideas that match what you want. Jack calls this your reticular activating system. It filters what you focus on. If you're always thinking about success, you'll start seeing paths to get there. Jack also warns about the dangers of being unclear. When your goals are vague, your actions become weak. You lose time, energy, and direction. But when you have a crystal clear vision, every decision becomes easier. You know what to say yes to, and more importantly, what to say no to. Clarity simplifies life. It cuts through the noise. Jack shares a story of how he wrote down that he wanted to earn $100,000 in 1 year, at a time when he was earning way less. It felt crazy. But the moment he got clear, ideas started flowing. He ended up earning $92,000. Not the full amount, but way more than ever before. That's the power of a clear goal. Another golden tip Jack gives: turn your wants into affirmations. Instead of saying, "I hope I'll be successful," say, "I am earning 10 lakh rupees a month doing work I love." Speak it daily, feel it emotionally, and act on it consistently. Over time, that affirmation becomes your new identity. And remember, You don't need to know how you'll get there. The how comes later. First, you decide the what. The universe can't deliver a package if you haven't placed the order. So get bold. Dream big, be honest. What do you truly want from this one short life? Write it, speak it, visualize it. Clarity isn't just motivational, it's transformational. Once you know what you want, and you truly believe it's possible, there's only one thing left to do. Take action. This is where most people get stuck. They wait. They overthink. They hope the timing will be perfect, or that some miracle will push them forward. But Jack Canfield says it straight. Success doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who move. You can sit and visualize all day long, but if you don't take the first step, nothing changes. This principle is simple, but powerful. You have to do something daily that moves you closer to your goals. Even small steps count. In fact, small steps done consistently are more powerful than massive actions done once in a while. Jack calls this inspired action. He teaches that once you've written down your goals clearly, you need to create a habit of taking at least 5 specific actions every single day toward your dream. Not random things, focused actions. Let's say you want to write a book. Your 5 actions could be writing 500 words, researching a chapter topic, reaching out to a potential editor, reading about publishing, and practicing storytelling. That's it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it. Every day. Even when you're tired. Even when you don't feel motivated. Because the truth is, success doesn't care about your feelings. It only responds to your effort. Jack shares a story that'll stick with you. When he first launched the Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, he and his co-author were rejected 144 times by publishers. 144. Most people would have given up at 10. Maybe even at 20. But they kept taking action, sending more emails, making more calls, visiting book fairs, asking for introductions. Why? Because they were committed to the result. They knew that action was the bridge between the dream and the destination. Eventually, someone said yes, and the rest is history. Millions of copies sold, lives changed, legacy created, all because they refused to stop. Jack also teaches us about the law of feedback. You take action, you fail, you learn, and then you adjust. Too many people are afraid to start because they fear failure. But in reality, failure is just feedback. It tells you what doesn't work, so you can try a different way. Action builds confidence. The more steps you take, the braver you become. And confidence leads to momentum. Momentum leads to results. And results? They reinforce your belief that you're on the right path. So if you're waiting for the perfect moment, stop. The perfect moment is now. Take the first step, even if it's small. Make the call. Write the page. Post the idea. Apply for the job. Start the savings plan. Because once you start moving, the universe starts moving too. You attract the right people, opportunities, and resources that match your energy. The door never opens unless you knock. And if it doesn't open, try another one. Just don't stop moving, because action is the oxygen of success. Let's be real. Fear is part of every success story. No matter how confident someone looks, they've faced moments of doubt, anxiety, and panic. Jack Canfield doesn't tell you to get rid of fear. He teaches you to move through it. That's why this next principle hits so deep. Feel the fear, and do it anyway. Most people think they need to wait until they're not scared anymore to take a big step. But Jack says that day never comes. The fear doesn't go away. You get stronger. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action despite fear. And the only way to build confidence is to do the very thing that scares you. Jack shares a powerful story about public speaking, something that used to terrify him. He would sweat, freeze, even shake in front of small groups. But he knew his message mattered. So he kept getting up there, again and again. And every time it got a little easier. Not because the fear disappeared, but because his belief got louder than his doubt. That's the magic. Fear whispers, "What if you fail?" But your faith must shout, "What if you fly?" The truth is, fear is just your brain trying to protect you. It wants you to stay safe, stay small, stay hidden. But that's not where growth happens. Growth lives on the edge, outside your comfort zone. And every time you step out, even just a little, you expand. Jack gives an amazing tip. Make fear your compass. If something excites you and scares you at the same time, that's your soul telling you, go there. Whether it's starting a new business, ending a toxic relationship, or sharing your story online, fear means you're on the verge of something meaningful. Jack also breaks down the fear of failure and rejection, two of the biggest dream killers. He says, what if we stopped treating failure like the end and started treating it like data? Think about it. A baby doesn't stop trying to walk because they fall. They fall hundreds of times. They don't think, maybe walking isn't for me. They just keep trying. You were once that brave, that fearless, that persistent. You still are. You've just forgotten. And Jack's here to remind you, falling doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're learning. Another key idea Jack shares is this: fear hates action. The moment you take even one small step, fear loses a little bit of its grip. So don't wait for full confidence. Just take the next right step. That's how every successful person did it. They felt the fear, and they did it anyway. And guess what? Most of the scary things we imagine never even happen. Fear lives in the future. But power? It lives in the now. So when fear shows up, smile at it. Thank it for trying to protect you. And then walk forward anyway. That's where the magic begins. You might have heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Jack Canfield takes that idea to the next level in this powerful principle. Surround yourself with winners. Why? Because success is contagious. And so is mediocrity. If you're always around people who complain, settle for less, make excuses, or mock your dreams, you'll slowly start to absorb their energy. Not because you want to, but because it's human nature. We mirror the people around us. Jack says if you want to fly with eagles, stop swimming with ducks. Let's break it down. Imagine you're trying to get fit, but all your friends eat junk food and skip the gym. It gets harder to stay disciplined, right? Now imagine being around people who meal prep, wake up early, and work out daily. Suddenly that same discipline becomes normal. That's the power of environment. Jack tells us that your outer world reflects your inner circle. If you want to grow faster, think bigger, and dream bolder. Start by upgrading your circle. Spend more time with people who are already where you want to be. And if you can't find them in person, learn from them online. Watch their videos, read their books, study their habits. Let their mindset rub off on you. Jack shares how, in his early career, he felt stuck, not because he lacked potential, but because he was surrounded by people who didn't believe in big dreams. They were comfortable being average. And when he started talking about writing books or becoming a speaker, they'd laugh or roll their eyes. It hurt, but it opened his eyes. He realized he needed to protect his vision. So he found mentors, joined masterminds, and attended events where people talked about possibilities, not limitations. That shift in his network changed everything. New ideas, new energy, new momentum. It all came from new relationships. But here's the catch. Changing your circle often means letting go. That part's hard. Sometimes, the people who've been with you the longest are the ones holding you back. Not because they're bad, but because they're scared. They're afraid your growth will leave them behind. And deep down, they don't want to see you change. Jack says you don't have to cut people off harshly. Just limit your exposure. Love them, but don't let their fears shape your future. You have one life. Protect it. He also encourages us to ask for support. Don't try to do everything alone. Share your goals with people who uplift you. Create accountability. Celebrate small wins together. When you're surrounded by belief, your own belief multiplies. Success becomes a shared energy. That's why teams win more often than individuals. They push each other, catch each other, and rise together. So take a hard look at your environment. Ask yourself, are these people feeding my fire or pouring water on it? Your future depends on that answer. Because in the end, success isn't just about what you do. It's also about who you do it with. Here's the ultimate secret Jack Canfield shares in the Success Principles. Success is not about motivation, talent, or luck. It's about commitment, pure, unshakable, non-negotiable commitment. When you decide that your success is no longer optional but mandatory, your whole life changes. You stop making excuses. You stop wavering. You stop listening to doubts and distractions. Jack calls this making your goals sacred promises to yourself. Promises you keep no matter what. Think about it like this. When a soldier goes to battle, there's no plan B. When a parent promises to protect their child, failure isn't allowed. That kind of total commitment brings a different energy. Fierce, focused, and unstoppable. Jack tells a story of a client who wanted to lose 50 kilos but kept making excuses. "I'll start tomorrow. I'm too tired. It's too hard." Then one day, she shifted her mindset. She said, "No more excuses. This is non-negotiable." She rewired her brain, changed her habits, and committed every day to showing up for herself. Not perfectly, but persistently. The weight came off. Her energy soared. Her confidence exploded. Because commitment is what fuels discipline and consistency. Jack explains that commitment means saying yes to your dreams and no to distractions. It means creating daily rituals and sticking to them, whether you feel like it or not. He warns that motivation is like the weather. It changes. Commitment is like the sun. It's always there, even behind clouds. You don't wait to feel motivated. You act because you've promised yourself you will. That promise becomes your anchor when storms hit. When people ask, "How do you keep going?" the answer is simple. Because I promised myself I would. Another powerful part of this principle is accountability. Jack encourages readers to share their commitments with others, friends, family, coaches, or mentors, so they can support you and hold you responsible. When you tell someone, "I'm doing this no matter what," and they check in regularly, it creates a powerful push. You start showing up for yourself in a whole new way. It's no longer just a wish. It's a mission. That's the difference between dreamers and achievers. Finally, Jack reminds us that commitment isn't about perfection. You will stumble. You will get tired. You will question yourself. But commitment means getting back up every time you fall. It means forgiving yourself and moving forward. Success is not a straight line. It's a journey full of ups and downs. But if you hold on tight to your commitment, you'll get where you want to go. And when you do, you'll look back and realize it was the promise to yourself, not luck or talent, that made all the difference.